As with all musical fans, we are faced with the passing of our idols. Musicians we looked up to for one reason or another. Their work touched us in ways no one else did. I'd like to share some of these moments, some happy and some sad. Growing up at home, speaking Greek was my first language. My mom did not understand English, so my older brother Bill and I would always speak Greek. My father was Russian, so he would speak to us in Russian, and at some point those words started to mean something also. So the music in our house growing up was Russian folk songs, classical music, my dad's love for Mozart. There was Greek bouzouki playing. And one thing my dad always said, and I remember it, the Beatles were a bunch of bums. Long-haired bums. I had no idea at the time who the Beatles were or what their music would mean to me later growing up. My earliest memories of music, when I was a young lad back around 1977, a dear friend of mine, Shane Coote, who played records that his dad listened to all the time when we visited. Styx, The Grand Illusion, Rush, A Farewell to Kings, ELO, Out of the Blue. Any chance I had to listen to those records with Shane, I would take advantage of. I also have memories of going to another friend's home, Sean Moon. He wanted to show me a new record he just got. It was Kiss Alive 2. The album showed the four members in makeup, but there was this picture of Gene Simmons with all that blood coming out of his mouth that really caught my attention. I did not know their names or their music at the time, but I had to listen to it. My musical tastes were turning quickly. I felt like in short 6 months, I was introduced to all new music, and I was thirsting for more. September of 77, I can remember my brother Bill getting an 8-track tape and a radio player for his birthday. Not knowing what the channels we were going to listen to, I quickly found two that we listened to all the time. Both are from Toronto, 104.5 Chum FM and the mighty Q107. My brother Bill came home from school one day with an 8-track tape he saved up to purchase. I remember it cost $2. I told him to save his money and not waste it on the tape. He put it on in the bedroom and it played. The biggest turn-off with an 8-track tape, for the younger group watching who don't know what an 8-track is, there are 4 programs to a tape. It's kind of like 4 sides. And once you hit around the 9-minute mark, it moves to the next side. The first tape was 2112. The first 3 channels were the song itself. So just as you're rocking and getting into it, it stops and changes, and then it starts again. The next tape my brother got was All the World's a Stage, a live recording from Massey Hall in Toronto. What stood out to me most, something that Geddy said. Ladies and gentlemen, the professor on the drum kit. A 4-minute drum solo. I was wondering if the professor was by himself on the drums, or was there another drummer? There was just so much happening so quick. I remember my brother buying Hemispheres and then Permanent Waves when it came out in 1980. I saved up my money and I purchased the albums. I love the liners. I love the album covers, the artwork. The lyrics were there. Geddy and Alex discussed the instruments that they were playing. People they thanked for the making of the records. For me, I was reading. I was not a big reader in my life. I struggled, and I struggle to this day. I just wanted to have fun reading. But when it came to the albums, I studied every word. I memorized the albums in what order they had appeared, the songs, how long it would take for me to be able to name that tune in less than a second. It's now around September 1980 in my life. It's off to high school for the first day. and I wanted to take music. My music teacher, Mr. Walker, asked me what instrument I would like to play. I was hoping for drums, but there was already a drummer in the class, Scott Dale. So for whatever reason, I suggested the trumpet. Mr. Walker, in his kind and soft-spoken words, asked me to come with him to the practice room. There was this black case on the floor. He opened it, and it was a brand new bass guitar, a Yamaha BB300. He suggested I play the tuba, and perhaps in grade 10, I could learn the bass. First thing for me was Gene Simmons. Hell yeah, I'll do it. I also learned that the fat kid always plays the tuba. At the end of the school year, Mr. Walker let me take home the Yamaha bass, along with a Mel Bay bass book on learning how to play the bass. I remember not having to worry how far I could get through the book. We would start together in September and learn the instrument. Little did Mr. Walker know, I also purchased a book. For me, I was going to learn how to play bass my way. The book was Rush complete. I didn't know any better, but it was a piano book. It had both the bass clef and treble, so I just focused on the bass clef. I remember writing down what note it was, note for note in the book. I was learning quickly what the notes were. I was learning where they were on the neck. We also had records, so I could lift the needle off the record and replay the parts over and over. I found out the piano book was just a guide to what was being played, but I was determined by return of school year in September, I was going to be able to play the bass. I know what I was reading during class on the tuba, so I based my learning on that level. Playing the scales were boring, but it was one of the best things I could have done to learn to move up and down the neck of the bass. It was slow, but I was learning every day, trying to do better. My brother came home with Rush moving pictures in Iron Maiden Killers. He wanted me to give them a listen and learn the songs. I'm learning to play Happy Birthday in different keys, and my brother wants me to play Rush in Iron Maiden. It was really at this point where I truly fell in love with Rush and Maiden. I would not listen to anything else. No Styx, no Kiss, no ELO. If it wasn't Rush or Maiden, I wasn't interested and I had no part of it. My brother Bill had a bigger taste in music, only playing drums, air drums himself. But the next thing I remember was Ozzy, the Blizzard of Oz. It was the introduction to Randy Rhoads. Later in 1981, it was Diary of a Madman. There was something about Randy Rhoads' guitar playing that I liked. It was like I was listening to some kind of classical music growing up, but with some soul in how it was done. It was a solo on a guitar, but not on a violin. I was learning the bass though. I want to learn the guitar. I want to play like Randy Rhoads. I thought I would save up some money and purchase a guitar. I would go down to the local music store. It was called Music City. It was in Port Credit. It was about a half-hour walk from where I lived. I remember all this commotion one visit. There was this guy with a special guitar, giving it to the staff at Music City. It was a weird V-looking guitar. Excuse me. It was Rick Emmett from Triumph. Their album Allied Forces was out. Really didn't know anything about them, but my brother had their tape Rock and Roll Machine. I remember loving in the song The City, War March, and the classical guitar was breathtaking, and of course the guitar solo during Rock and Roll Machine. I picked up a guitar for the first time. The neck was so small, the strings were so close, my meat hooks were way too big. I quickly put the guitar back down. I was devastated. Walking back home, I realized that my dream of playing guitar was not going to be, but there was still, I was learning the bass. I was learning I could dream of playing like Randy Rhoads on the bass. That's what I thought. It's now March 1982, March 19, 1982. I learned about Randy Rhoads' passing. He died in a plane crash. I learned that he was only 25 years old. It was the first time in my life that I cried for somebody who passed away that I did not know. It was his music that touched me so deeply. The feeling on this day still brings chills down my back. I wanted to learn guitar. It was his style that drew me to the guitar. It was March 1984 now. My brother with Inve J. Malmsteen, Rising Force. It was this nice cream color Telecaster on the album. Thinking, okay, who is this guy? Put it on. Oh my God. It was like listening to Mozart and Bach on steroids. The same classical runs that I remember listening to as a young child and hearing it now in a rock and roll type style. I love Malmsteen, and to this day I still listen to his music. Fast forward to April 21st, 2016. I learned about the passing of Prince. His album Purple Rain hangs on my wall behind me in purple vinyl. I was stunned. The saddest thing about that day was perhaps now we can play some Prince covers on YouTube and not get blocked. So selfish of me to think that way. It was his music that I loved. I wish we could do his covers, but the chance and the risk of getting a strike on our channel still to this day, it's not worth trying to do. On January 7th, 2016, I received a YouTube notification that David Bowie just uploaded a new video. 3 days later, on the 10th of January, David Bowie passed away. I also love his music. Again, the feeling of sadness was overwhelming. On December 25th, 2016, while at my daughter's Julia and her husband Jamie's, we were there for Christmas dinner, and my phone went off. There was breaking news that George Michael was found dead in his home. George is my favorite male singer of all time. His work with Wham and his solo materials. Last Friday at 4:24, my daughter Julia texted me letting me know that Neil Peart had just passed away from brain cancer. At 4:25, my other daughter Cristina texted me saying, "Sorry about Neil." I started crying in the Costco parking lot with my car in reverse, my foot on the brake. I was in shock. I was thinking that this was some type of hoax that you see on the internet all the time. I put the car back in park and moved the radio to 680 News. It's an all-channel news in Toronto. It's now 4:28, and they came on the radio to say at the bottom of the hour, a Canadian musician passes away after a 3.5-year battle of brain cancer. Not that I did not believe what my daughters had texted me, but I was hoping it was a hoax. When the radio confirmed it, I thought that this was truly the end of Rush. You see, I believed the band would get together today, or to get together and do a performance for a fundraiser, perhaps even make a record. Not go on a world tour, but perhaps record a record. The memories of growing up and listening to Rush came crashing down on me a few minutes in the parking lot. Oh my God. The professor had passed away. This past week I've listened to more Rush than I've listened to in the past decade. May of 2009, my brother passed away suddenly from an aortic aneurysm. Bill and I went to every Rush and Iron Maiden concert that came to Toronto. We never missed one. So today listening to Maiden and Rush is very difficult, but I have to tell you, I want to play some Rush, and lots of it. Maiden also. I'm going to start learning the songs that meant so much to me when I first started to learn the bass. I was using the slot machine the other day in trying to describe the odds of being alive in the past few decades on Earth at this time, learning the music of Rush, playing the bass, and what their music would mean to me. What were the odds that all three slots would line up? So all I can do is what I could do. Let me try that again. So all I can do, what I could do, is to play some Rush and Iron Maiden. In memory of my brother Bill and the love we shared together, and for the subscribers that follow my work today on YouTube, I want to share with you my love for music and the kindness that my music teachers, Mr. Walker and Mrs. Taylor, they both believed in me. And this is one small way, me thanking them for the gifts they allowed me to learn. And to the professor, Neil Peart, for the loving lyrics he wrote and the drumming that will live forever. I'm waiting for the first thunderstorm to happen. I will look up at the skies and smile, knowing that Neil is tuning up his drums. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for some Rush. Take care, everyone. Rest in peace, Neil.